Oh, I'm gonna get my participant list here. Welcome to Wake the Fuck Up Wednesday. Hey, Angie, hey, Sarah. Today we are going to talk about the art of doing nothing. And I know some of y'all are like, wait, you're going to talk about the art of doing nothing. Aren't you always like so fucking busy? And the reality is, yes, I've got a lot on my calendar every day. And my friends will attest to that. Whenever they're at my house or if I'm working out at the art, they like glance at my calendar. They're like, holy crap. You've got a lot of stuff in your calendar. And if you've been following me by now, you know that that's how I get so much shit done. Because if I put it in the calendar, I don't even have to look. I don't even have to worry if I have enough time to get it done because that's how I put it in there. And then I just get on and I do it. And it makes my day like so much more relaxing and I get so much shit done and I get to have some downtime too. So the art of doing nothing. All right. So my last name is Verzoni and it used to be Neff, which I love. I slightly regret like changing it. The reason I changed it, to be honest, is because people could never spell Neff. They'd spell it like mess, like M-E-S-S, Ness, N-E-S-S. They never got like N-E-F-F. And so I was like, oh, Verzoni. It's like Verzone, like basically, but it's Verzoni, but they can do Ver and then zone. No, I just traded like one hard to spell name for another. But anyway, I dig Verzoni. I dig Italians, dig Italian food, but check it out. So there's a saying in Italy. Let me pull it up so that I don't butcher it. I think it's, okay, I can't find it, but I think it's l'arte de non fare niente. L'arte de non fare niente. L'arte de non fare niente. And it means the art of doing nothing. That's right. Leave it to the Italians to have a freaking saying for doing nothing. It's awesome, right? So anyway, and you know, I was writing about it this week and chose to do a pod on it this week because it was my birthday on Sunday. Thank you for all the birthday love that you sent me. It was awesome. But so we're at the, like my husband, I think sometime last week. Oh, sorry. There we go. Sometime last week, my husband was like, hey, what do you want to do for your birthday? Right. And I was like, I think I just want to just go to the yurt and relax and like chill out and not do anything because I've been in this postdoctoral program, right, at Hopkins for like over a year, and I'm done almost. I finish officially on Friday, and then I'm supposed to graduate on Monday. So I'm so excited, but I've been like, look at my calendar. I've been cranking and doing shit, right? And I just know, I have to balance that. And I was like, you know, it sounds so good to me right now is just chillaxing and doing nothing at the yurt. And so my husband's like, oh, okay, cool. Do you want me to bring pack rafts? And then, or maybe I'll just bring like the big raft and like, we can do float. And I'm imagining like having to, you know, deal with like rain and then keeping Maya warm because when it rains in Alaska in the summer, it's not warm. And then like, you know, dealing with the logistics and all this crap. And I'm just like, no, I like literally want to do nothing. Like I literally want to go to the yurt and like do nothing. And he's like, I can tell he's like, it's like, what the fuck are you talking about? How do you even do nothing? And so, and I was like, look, we can just go. And then he's like, well, what about Salmon Fest? Salmon Fest, like I'll pack everything. We can go camp. Salmon Fest is like an outdoor music festival. And I'm like, same thing. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't imagine trying to find a campsite. There's going to be like tons of people. And then Maya's not going to want to hang out in the rain with the music. I was like, dude, if it was just us, maybe, but no, I just want to do nothing. And in his mind, doing nothing, relaxing meant doing something mellow. Right? And I was just like, yeah, no, that's not what we're talking about here right now. So, so he gets it, I think, finally. or he's at least like accommodating me, even if he doesn't understand. So we go to the yurt, and I'm just like listening to the rain on the rooftop, and I'm like, this is so awesome. And then he goes, well, what do you want for your birthday? And I'm like, okay, you know what? If you really have the need to do something, let's go to the Dirty Skillet, which is like one of my favorite restaurants by the yurt. It's like in a little town called Hope, a little bit of ways from the yurt. And so we go to dinner there. There are some friends there. There's some music. So Maya's like playing in the pond. We eat. It's awesome. And then there's some live music like down the road, and with views of the ocean and everything, outdoor music. And I'm like, okay, well, let's walk and kind of see how it goes. And I'm walking, I'm like, oh, this is nice. This is relaxing. And all of a sudden I hit this wall, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I got to go home. And so I walk to the edge of the ocean just to make sure. Sometimes it's just sensory overload. I walk to the ocean, and I'm like with Maya, and I'm like, hey, I'm kind of feeling like I want to go back to the yurt. And she goes, yeah, okay. And so I tell Ty, you can catch a ride with one of your buddies, because our cabin neighbors were also there. And then I said, and then Maya and I are going to go home, and I'm just going to rest. So then we get home. I'm like so exhausted. I put Maya to bed, and then I realized I don't want to go to sleep. Like it's so quiet and it's so peaceful, and I want to enjoy it. Right. And so I end up staying awake until Ty comes home. And he's kind of like, oh, I thought you were tired. But what I needed was just doing nothing. Latte de non fare niente. And for those of you who like actually speak Italian out there, feel free to like DM me how to actually say that. Okay. But anyway, so how do you do that? Right. And like, why do you do that? Well, I remember one time I was at a business conference, and this business coach that I really respected, who had grown her business really, I think, ethically and aligned, she was like, we have to be bored sometimes and not do anything, because that's when our brain will get really creative. Kind of like how they say, kids, they don't get bored these days and it's affecting their brains. Well, it's the same for adults. Like we need to have this time where we're not occupied with anything and we're kind of twiddling around, right? And I also had shortly after read about how Steve Jobs, would make time to walk every day and do nothing but walk, because in that time, it wasn't like things would spontaneously arise, like these great ideas or problems that he'd been working on, the solutions would spontaneously arise. So I'm like way into this concept because it's sort of a loophole. It's sort of like you're doing something while you're doing nothing. Like you're downloading amazing ideas and all this stuff. So anyway, I started doing this. It really became clear to me when I was kind of hitting a wall in my business, and I was like, gosh, I got nothing. Like I'm sort of stagnant right now. I can't create anything new. So I was like, I was pregnant at the time. I think I was 6 months pregnant with Maya or something. So I'm like, I'm going to go to the Big Island by myself and just relax and do nothing. And that's what I did. And that's when I came up with the Adventure Mastermind back when I was pregnant with her back in 2013, or maybe it was already 2014 by then. And the Adventure Mastermind has been like an amazing part of my business for so long now. You should check it out. I just opened it yesterday, adventuremastermind.com. But anyway, so I came up with that idea, right? Like while I was doing nothing. And so then on my Vipassana retreats, 10-day meditation retreats where I'm literally doing nothing. In fact, the mantra I say to myself is like, nowhere to go, nothing to do, no one to be, right? So anyway, I have learned how to do nothing for a while. I know it's not easy, right? But it's so important if you want to achieve a lot in your life, because you have to recharge. It's not just about creating that space to download, but you have to recharge. If you're going to be out there doing cool shit, you have to have that time where you're chillaxing and you're holding that space so that you can recharge your batteries. So I want to talk about how to do that. And I know a lot of you may think, here, let me kind of move this over here. I know a lot of you may think like, I know how to do this. You just don't do anything. But to know and not do is not to know. So if you don't have downtime where you're literally chillaxing, and I don't mean listening to an audiobook or even reading a book, right? I'm talking about this l'arte de non fare niente, okay? So to know and not do is not to know, as Yoda says. All right, so let's get more clear about this. Let me pull this up here. All right, so one of the things, I'm going to give you like probably 10 tips. Okay, I'll go into more detail in the pod that drops tomorrow, but here's some tips and I want you to try it. All right, one is unplug. When I wrote an article about this like 10 years ago or so, that was like number 6, but now it has to be number 1 because we are all so plugged into our devices right now. So that's a given. But yes, even the meditation app off, okay? Your nothing spot. It's important to have a place where there aren't a ton of distractions, right? For me, the yurt is that place. When I'm in Hawaii, I walk to like a little pocket beach somewhere, right? When I'm not at the yurt and I'm in Anchorage, you know, I usually have to leave the house. And that's because when we're in our homes, there's so many distractions. Like, even if no one's home, we could do the dishes, we could do the laundry, we could like fix shit, we could clean shit up. Oh, now's the time to declutter, but that's not doing nothing, right? And then if we're trying to do nothing and all of that noise is in the background in our brain, in terms of all those things that we should be doing, we can't really relax and drop into it, which is kind of the purpose of doing it. So it's nice to have a time and place where there aren't a ton of distractions or noise or people to bother you, right? So then you want to start short and sweet. So if you are like a kind of overachiever and have a lot of shit to do all the time, right? You want to start with like 5 or 10 minutes, because if you try to do it for too long at first, you're going to feel like you're going to like spontaneously combust or something. And I know there's lots of freedom junkies out there like that, because they're like total FOMO, right? It's like, who here has FOMO? Me. It was like, so when I was a climbing guide, I was out getting it every day. Like my job was to go out and do hard, cool shit every day. And so when I was done doing that, I felt so complete, right? And I would do nothing after. I'd sit around and just like sit and look at things. And sometimes I would talk to people, right? Or I go just perch on a rock somewhere and just sit. And I feel like since my life and career have changed, I'm like, when I'm, you know, creating amazing programs, that's awesome, but I still want to go out and do cool shit. So then I get FOMO, you know, this fear of missing out. And then whenever I have downtime, it's like, let's fill it with doing cool shit. And I know so many of you out there are like that. But here's the thing, that doesn't allow our nervous systems a break. And I know that y'all, if you're like me, do it when you're exhausted too. You're tired, you want to stay home, but you're like, I'm going to regret it if I don't go to that thing, right? So start short and sweet, 5 or 10 minutes, and then practice, especially if you get bad FOMO like me. You can be like, all right, I'm going to go get it in 10 minutes, in 15 minutes, okay? Now, the hard part is doing nothing, okay? Because we want to fill up the time. And the reason it can get difficult at first, I think, is because we don't know how to calm down our mind. Like, we can't just relax. We can't just chill out. So a big part of it is learning to relax, right? So find someplace comfortable, like your hammock, grass, comfy spot. You want to maybe do mindful breathing, not meditation. We're not doing anything here, just paying attention to your breath, because you don't have to think about breathing, which is the nice thing about it, right? You can do a Abhyanga, self-massage, like Ayurvedic self-massage. You know, I start at my head, I do my ears, my face, my cheeks, go all the way to my feet. That just kind of helps drop out of this nervous system so that you can actually practice doing nothing, right? It's kind of like why yoga was meant to prepare you for meditation, right? It's this transition that we need sometimes to drop into that. Okay. Now, one time I went to a friend's house and in Bishop, California, and she was like, hey, can you, do you want to do a foot soak with me? And I was like, yeah, that sounds amazing. So she filled like this tub of water and hot water and then put some like lavender oil in it. And I sat down in her chair and it was amazing. It was so amazing to do this foot soak. And it was made a huge difference to shift me. So it's something you can do really easily, right? So sometimes you have to drop out of your body. I mean, into your body, out of your body, drop out of your body. That'll be really easy to do nothing. So drop into it first and relax it, calm down the nervous system. Now, I just wanted to end, there's more details on the pod tomorrow, but I just wanted to end with how do we do this in daily life though? It's one thing to have a day where you do it or to have a few minutes where you do it, but what about throughout the day? So one of the main things I think about is how to do it while you're waiting. Like try doing nothing when you're waiting. What the fuck? Hey, Romeo, haven't seen you in a while. What's that? So how do we do nothing? Like, how do we do nothing when we're waiting? I love airports, right? Love airports. I used to travel so much as a climbing guide, right? I used to sit and just like watch people. It was fascinating. And then other times, I started bringing a book everywhere and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I don't ever have to waste time because I have this book, right? And I'm going to read this book. How many of you do that? You don't travel anywhere without your book. And now we do it with our phones, right? We have our phones everywhere. And whenever we're waiting, we're checking it out. And it's like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. This is the best ever because I can get shit done while I'm waiting, right? While I'm waiting. And it's like, no, what about doing nothing? What about doing nothing? So try doing that when you're waiting in line, when you're waiting in the doctor's office, when you're waiting in the airport. See what happens when you do nothing. Just be there. And what ends up happening, sure, we can benefit by downloading amazing things. We can benefit by just slowing down. But the other thing that happens is we actually become present with what is, right? On a deeper level, we notice, wow, I wait a lot. I sit around places and wait a lot, or I'm not really happy with where I am right now. And a lot of the resistance to doing nothing is the emotions that arise when we do nothing. Because if we're not aligned in our life, we're going to feel anxious. We're going to feel maybe angry. We're going to feel fear. And that feels shitty. So we stay busy, busy, busy. But it's in doing nothing that what is arises. And so we start to see, like this is what's happening in my life right now. We can start noticing also the beautiful things like the rain on the roof or the flowers or the birds or the ocean waves. We start to pay attention to the present moment, right? And sometimes that's really relaxing and awesome. Sometimes difficult things arise. But when we pay attention to those and are with them fully, they also move on more fully. And we have more energy as a result because it's not draining from us in the background. So think about why you may not be slowing down and why it is difficult to do nothing. And if it's because of the difficult emotions that arise, have some self-compassion, but also use your emotions as inquiry. Like, what is this telling me about my life right now and where it is and what I need to do next, right? We don't notice if we don't pause. So I want to encourage you, listen to the pod tomorrow or take some of the tips I gave here for how to do this on a regular basis, either in 5 or 10 minute stints, as a longer like half day thing or a day long thing, and to do something throughout the day where when you're waiting, you don't fill it up with something. Driving, when you're driving, don't fill it up with something. Sometimes I have some friends, I get into their car and immediately they like turn on the music and I'm like, can we just like have a little quiet first? Maybe just like sit, maybe talk. And I think it's a habit for a lot of people. Get in the car, turn on the music. And I'm just like, I just have so started for many years now to appreciate some stillness and some quiet. I used to do road trips from like Santa Cruz to Joshua Tree, it was like 9 hours. And there's big stretches back then where you didn't have radio. And I love that. I would just sit and drive and do nothing but drive. So experiment with this and notice what arises. Okay, my friends? L'arte de non fare niente. Have an amazing, amazing day, y'all. Okay, bye. Ciao, everyone. Thank you for joining. All the buttons get hidden.